Brady Hoke joining us on Xtra 1360. Coach, Darren Smith, how are you?
I'm doing great, Darren. How are you? We're excited. Let's get it going.
I could tell it. I could hear it in your voice, and especially, Coach, with fans in the stands. I mean, you've been around college football so long. Sports across the board, not the same without fans, but I think it hits just a little bit more in college football because it's so much about the pageantry. It's so much about the bands. It's so much about the alumni. How excited not only to get the season back going, but also get the season back going with fans in Carson this week.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Last year was what it was, and we got through it pretty well. I was happy with how that team reacted, but this is another year, and it's going back to normal. And we'll be able to have some people in the stands, obviously, and parents and Aztec Nation, and so we're excited about it, and hopefully we have a great crowd.
Was it different? I mean, just in terms of the motivation, because sometimes those atmospheres, they provide the motivation. When you run out of the tunnel and you can hear the pep bands and you can feel the energy, you can feel the excitement. I mean, I don't need to tell you, you've been doing this for most of your life. Was it different last year, trying to get them geeked up, get them excited for a game?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, for home games, the one thing we did have the luxury of our non-travel team. We would bust them up. But there's no doubt about it that having the band, the drum line, all that, our cheerleaders and just our guys having the opportunity to be in an atmosphere that's going to be real exciting.
Brady Hoke is joining us on Xtra 1360. So this past Saturday, I mean, I spent a ton of time watching what I could, loving seeing the fans back across the country as well. What about you? What was Saturday just purely a practice day, a prep day for you, or did you get a chance to watch some of the games and particularly watch some of the Mountain West schools that were in action in week 0?
Yeah, we practiced and we worked a little bit, but we all got the opportunity to go home and turn on some football and obviously watch the New Mexico State game. So very little of Fresno or San Jose, but we're excited about it, and it was football again, and can't wait. I think we're starting Thursday night with some football.
Indeed, we are. We'll see some top 25 teams in action upcoming, some big games as well. You mentioned you watched a little bit of New Mexico State, and this is one of those conversations about, as a coaching staff, for your players, do you want a little bit of game film? New Mexico State didn't play last year. They played a couple of games again this spring.
Right.
I don't know, how much you can pick up or learn, but is it beneficial? Is it not beneficial? On one hand, they get a game. On the other hand, you also get some film, and they don't have much film on you. So what is the pros and cons of having your opponent play before you actually play?
Yeah, well, and I think the pros and cons, if you get to play a game, I think you can clean up the second week. I think you get a chance to look at some of the things that you didn't do as well, or communication, or missed assignments, didn't tackle well, whatever it might be. I think your improvement. You look at special teams, from week 1 to week 2. I don't know if you watched Illinois. They got a safety just from a bad decision in special teams. But so those things are a big part of it. And for us, now they have 40 new players since last spring. So the ability to watch their new players is something that's really, beneficial to us.
Brady Hoke joining us on Xtra 1360. The final score clearly was lopsided in that New Mexico State's, they got pummeled here. They lost by 27. For you as a coach, I've talked to players who have played college football, and they all say, hey, one game at a time, all that sort of stuff. But deep down, Brady, do you have to sit? Do you have to guard against them thinking that this one's going to be easy, and then they start peeking ahead, looking at Arizona, et cetera? How do you guard against that heading into week 1?
Well, number one, we ought to be focused in on that game because it's our first. And you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so us as a team getting together, being physical in what we're doing, how we practice. We had a great practice last night. Today is physical day for us on Tuesday. We look forward to see how we come out and do that. But I think this team has been pretty focused on one step at a time and, to keep creating competitiveness and to get better every time we take the field. So that is what we want to do.
My apologies. Last week you announced your starting quarterback, Jordan Brookshire. I know in your last scrimmage up in Carson, you said, hey, we could take this pretty much up until game week. What did you see from Brookshire that made you make the announcement last week? What was it that gave him the nod?
Yeah, I think as much as anything, Darren, it's how he played in the spring, how he worked in the summer, and then in fall camp. And everybody asks, Lucas will be our number 2 right now. But I can tell you, it's what Brookshire did as much as anything. I mean, he really had a good fall camp, really led well, and he showed some toughness that I think people haven't seen.
Could you give us an example of that? I mean, it's an interesting story, right? If I'm not mistaken, he was like a 4th-string guy last year, elevates himself, gets out there on the field, saw some action during the regular season, 8-game regular season for y'all last year. But what toughness did you see specifically that gave the coaching staff the confidence to go with him?
Well, if you remember the Colorado game, he started that game for us, did a nice job, and then you look at BYU, and I thought BYU he really played well. Let's go through winter conditioning and how he reacted to everything we did there, and then football-wise in spring, and really just liked how he went about his business. I think his leadership is really, really good, and I think his teammates, really, really trust him.
Brady Hoke joining us on Xtra 1360. For years, San Diego State has had they've had a blueprint for success, and it's worked out. You guys have been run first, run a lot, control the line of scrimmage, be tough, be physical, be a pain in the neck. People don't want to face you. On and on it goes. Sort of a perfect antidote against some of the more modern spreads, things along those lines. What is this year's team? Is this year's team cut from that cloth, or should we expect to see different things in terms of San Diego State, specifically on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, well, I would say this, Darren. Number one, you got to do what you do best. Where are your strengths? And our strengths are in our running game. Our running backs, led by Greg Bell and Chance Bell and Keegan Williams. I mean, we are very blessed to have Bird. It's a great group. And so to have that group and then to see the development of us offensively from an offensive line standpoint, really excited about how those guys have progressed. I think Mike's done a great job with them and just the progression that they've made. So, we're going to be a team we're going to run the football. And at the same time, I know you've got to be able to keep people honest a little bit. So in the passing game, we'll have some shots and we'll do some things that are a little different.
Ooh, anything you care to discuss on radio?
I don't.
No?
You know what? Let me think about it. I'll get back with you.
Let me guess. Maybe throw the ball to the tight end? I mean, if I could offer a suggestion for you, maybe your tight end's pretty good?
I think that's a great idea.
You got a good tight end there. He's one of your team captains as well. I mean, he seems to be, again, cut from similar cloth to some of the tight ends that we've seen come through San Diego State over the last decade plus.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Really, it's funny. When I came back in 2019, I tried to recruit him as a defensive end, and Coach Long wouldn't let me take him. So I was trying, but Dan is a heck of a football player and a great leader for us.
It's interesting. I was going to ask you about this, because I feel like you're like the perfect person to ask a question a little bit, off the beaten path. But you just referred to Rocky Long as Coach Long, and I've sort of bounced back and forth here with Coach Hoke and Brady. And I know this has come up a time or two during the offseason. How do you feel like people should address coaches, people who are not wearing shoulder pads and helmets, people who are not in the locker room? Do you have a preference one way or the other for how people like me address you in settings like this?
No, not at all. Not at all, Darren. I promise you, I'm pretty humble that way and don't really think about it.
Okay. I mean, it surprises me that some coaches seem to think about this and that they, and again, it's not really my space, but they consider it a little bit of a slight if everybody doesn't refer to them as coach, whatever.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like Mike May. I call him director of media.
Director of media May?
Yes, that's it.
Well, that's what he's always told us to address him as well. So, yeah, that's sort of common around these parts, as you know. Well, Brady, Coach Hoke, we appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. Thank you very much for taking the time. It's always a pleasure to chat you up.
Nice to talk to you, Darren. Thanks.
You got it. Brady Hoke, head coach, San Diego State, 7:30 p.m. upcoming this weekend.